Well, hello there, welcome. My name's Jordan, I live down in Georgia. I wanted to share my 2020 F-150 with you today. So this truck is a bit of a different truck, a little bit unique. I started out looking for a regular cab short bed. Knew that's what I wanted. They're not super easy to find, so I ended up looking for about a month before I found one that was within driving distance. So I ended up going over to Rome, Georgia. Bought this truck from Courtesy Ford in Rome. Super easy guys to work with, really friendly, in and out of there in a couple hours. So overall, really good dealership experience. No issues with them whatsoever. So I knew that I was looking for a regular cab short bed. I knew I wanted four-wheel drive. And then what I really wanted was either the lead foot gray or the abyss gray. This is obviously the abyss gray, but I wanted the sport package with these trucks because with the sport package, you get the paint matched front and rear bumpers. So I really wanted that. Unfortunately, the way that Ford configures these trucks, you cannot get the sport package on anything other than XL. So that's what I've got. I got a Ford F-150 XL. This truck did come configured with the tow package. So it's got the trailer technology reverse assistant that I've never used, probably never will, but it's nice to know that it's there. It's got the trailer brake controller, and it's got the 373 gears. So Ford says that this truck can tow 7,500 pounds. I've never tested that, never gotten close to that. I do have an old Mustang that on a flatbed probably weighs a little less than 6,000 pounds, and that's probably the heaviest that I'll ever tow with this, because this truck does have the 3.3 naturally aspirated V6. And so there's not a whole lot of information out there about this truck, about this engine. Most reviewers review the EcoBoost or the 5.0. So this truck, I wanted to talk a little bit about the engine because it is a bit different, right? You don't see a whole lot of these as far as reviewers go. So this truck, overall, it's been fantastic for me, right? So it's obviously a regular cab short bed, 4x4 tow package, but what I've done to it so far, I've added the rough country 2-inch spacers up front to give it that more level stance. So I've been happy with that so far. I've also added the Husky wheel well liners, so that kind of gives it a better look, easier to clean, all that kind of stuff. Not a big deal. I've added the tailgate assist, so that just drops down really nicely. This truck does have the step, all that fun stuff. Comes in kind of handy. Mine did come with the Tough Bed spray liner from the factory, so that's kind of nice. I also did put in the Ford rubber mat, which has been really helpful for keeping things from sliding around. Just last weekend, I had this truck full of firewood and camping gear, and so having that anti-slide really helps a lot. And during the summertime, I have kayaks and whatnot in this truck every weekend, and so that rubber mat keeps things from sliding around, and that's really, really handy. Big fan of that. This truck came from the factory with the tinted rear window with the defrosters, and so all I've done is I've tinted the side windows to match. I think it's like 35% ceramic tint, but it really just kind of evens the look of the truck out. I'm a big fan of it, like it a lot. And then what I've done is I've added the Weathertech Floor Mat, so that's kind of handy. Really does a good job of keeping this thing clean. Like I said, it's an XL. Because you can't get the XLT, you're kind of stuck with the small infotainment screen, which is not a big deal. But for a regular cab, you kind of know what you're getting yourself into when you buy one of these. But there is not a lot of room. So you've got to keep that in mind. If you got a family or dogs or whatnot, you're going to be kind of limited in space. It does have the center console that folds down, so that's kind of nice. A little bit of a couple extra cup holders, armrest, all that fun stuff. It's not too much to it, right? So overall, it's a pretty basic configuration, but I really like it. I'm a big fan of it. It's exactly what I wanted with the regular cab short bed. I set out looking for that. I was happy to find one, but The kind of weird thing about this truck is the engine, right? The 3.3 naturally aspirated V6. You don't see a lot of information about them, so I wanted to talk about that a little bit because it is kind of a big deal. If you're looking for a new F-150, you got to know what you're getting yourself into with that one. So let's take a look at it real quick. All right, so here it is. Not too much to it, right? It's kind of a small engine, no turbos. Obviously not a V8. It's got kind of lower power compared to the other motors, but I wanted to talk a little bit about my experience with this motor in case anybody else out there is contemplating picking one of these up. So I've got about 14,000 miles in this truck. I've had it since May of 2020. So 7 months, 14,000 miles. I do a pretty good amount of driving with it. So far, I've been averaging 20 or so. I did do kind of a test where I filled the truck up, topped off the tank, and then drove really conservatively for the entire life of the tank. And I ended up getting about 23. It was hand calculated, not the computer of the truck, but my own calc. And I got 23. So that wasn't too bad. I was pretty happy with that. I think if you buy the 3.3 and you're easy on it, you can get pretty good mileage out of it. Granted, this is a regular cab short bed, so it's going to be lighter than your extended cabs or your Super Cruise, all those. But in this configuration, you can get about 23 or so. Daily driving, when I'm driving normally, right, I get about 20. So even then, I don't think that's too bad, considering what it is and the fact that it's a truck and all that. But this motor does present some challenges when you're trying to tow with it, right? Or even when you're driving in hilly areas. So I tow quite a bit, and I've got family all over the South, and so I'm doing road trips fairly regularly. And this truck, if you keep cruise control set at 65, 70, anytime you hit a hill on the freeway or an incline, it'll downshift from sixth gear to fifth to fourth, sometimes even all the way down to third, right? So I know that the 6-speed is going away for 21, but this truck does have the kind of tried and true 6-speed transmission. And because of the power in this V6 isn't really available until the higher RPM range, this truck will downshift and just let the engine scream to keep your speeds up at 65, 70 when you're towing a load. And so even though the Ford says with the 373 gears and whatnot that this truck can tow 7,500 pounds, I would be pretty hesitant to try to do that. Or if you're towing on a regular basis, you probably don't want this. You probably want the 2.7 EcoBoost, but it's kind of an interesting motor, right? It's pretty decent around town, gets good gas mileage, but it's really not great at towing or maintaining high speeds in hilly areas. So if those are kind of your use cases, I would not probably go this route, but it's just something to be aware of, right? So you're gonna have less power, but you're gonna have hopefully better reliability long term, being that it is a turbo-less engine and really pretty straightforward, right? So something to keep in mind, a bit of a trade-off you gotta consider there. So let's talk about price and value. What did I pay for this truck? So like I said, I was looking for a long time. It took me a while to find one. Eventually I did find this one. I was pretty excited to find it because I've been looking for about a month. I bought it from Courtesy Ford in Rome, Georgia. So let's see, I've got the window sticker here. I don't know if you guys can see that. So Ford says the MSRP of this truck is $41,595. And so what I ended up paying for it out the door was about $34,000 with Ford's 0% financing offer. So I paid about $34,000 for this truck, not $41,500, but I feel like that's a decent value considering what this truck is, right? The fact that it's got 4-wheel drive, can supposedly tow a decent amount of weight, gets good gas mileage, and should be a pretty reliable truck for the length of the time that I own it, right? But overall, it's a pretty basic truck. I did want the 4-wheel drive, I did want tow package, I did want regular cab short bed. I got all those things. To answer the question of do I love or hate my new ride, I can't really say love or hate, right? If I could do it all over again, what I would do is order this truck from the factory with the same configuration, except I think that I would put the 5.0 in it. That would be ideal. I would even be really happy with the 2.7. But at the end of the day, this 3.3, it really can't be described as anything other than adequate. And I guess that's why you don't see a whole lot of reviewers picking the 3.3. I've never seen an Ike Gauntlet towing test with the 3.3. It's just really not meant for those sort of applications. But a lot of us owners do have them, and we'd be curious to see how well they perform in those kind of tests. I expect that this thing's going to be reliable for a long time, being the fact that it is a pretty simple truck. There is one recall out on the backup camera. About half the time when I use it, it's just dark. You can't see anything, and so Ford's got a recall out for that. So I'll get that fixed next time I'm in the dealership. But overall, I'd say this truck has been a great truck. Super reliable. I really like the way it looks. I'm a big fan of the Abyss Gray. I can't say that it's necessarily fun to drive because it is kind of slow. It's adequate, but ultimately, if you're going to be towing, or if you just like having a little bit more power, the 3.3 naturally aspirated V6 is probably not the one for you. So keep that in mind. Overall, it's a great truck, no complaints, very capable. From a usability perspective, I have no complaints. From a fun perspective, I wish it had the 2.7 or the 5.0. But anyways, that's a quick bit of information about the 2020 regular cab short bed F-150 in Abyss Gray. Yep, that's all I got. Thank you for your time. Hope you have a good one.